Water is always the major problem in the western United States for success in agriculture. So this right here is our resource, and it's valuable and scarce.
In the Shasta and Scott watersheds, every drop of water is spoken for. Farms need water, fish need water, people need water, so what do? These farms have been operating a certain way for more than a century, and their business models are based on a decree that divvies up water rights, but the system allocates more water than actually exists. So how do you tell a family farm that their 100-year-old business model is no longer compatible with environmental objectives? It's not a great way to start a discussion. When the pumps turn on for agriculture, landowners divert water from rivers to fields, often through earthen ditches traveling for miles across multiple properties.
A lot of times I have been out here through the last 15 years and can stand here when the boards are in place and see fish pooling up here below the impoundment. And of course the landowner has to put the boards in order to create the head. There's a lot of valuable spring resources just upstream of this impoundment that dump cold water into this impoundment, which is lost. The benefit of those resources is lost in this heat sink.
Water diversion structures block fish from accessing habitat. The water conveyance infrastructure is old and dilapidated, but reliable. The ditches and diversions function generation after generation. Now we're asking family farmers to change their ways, but how and on whose dime?
During the last 14 years, we've had several opportunities to select plants, but none of them would work. Right now, we're using gravity to bring water for several thousand feet. That's worked quite well, except that we don't have fish passage and we don't have the things that are probably necessary to be right with the law.
Heavy regulation and threats of litigation divide farmers and communities. In the short term, the lawyers win. Meanwhile, salmon populations are collapsing.
Recently, I got to work on a project at University of California, Davis called the State of the Salmonids. Our findings of the report suggest that salmon are in a precipitous decline and spiral towards extinction.
Here's the thing. Most of our water problems are actually just people problems. But when we sit down at the kitchen table, constructive solutions start to appear.
And replumb your ranch and putting a pump station and then put over 18,000 feet of conveyance pipe, and the fish get access to over 14 miles of spawning and rearing habitat, as well as increased access to cold water and additional flows in Parks Creek and the Shasta River.
Well, having a modern ranch which actually can use water in a more efficient and economical way will actually make the ranch experience possible. Cal trout has been our primary go-to, simply because we have similar interests, but they're local, they're here, and we work practically on a weekly or sometimes daily basis with them to be able to solve problems.
We have the science, and now that we understand what salmon need to thrive, primarily cold water and access to habitat, we can replumb these outdated irrigation systems, replace the old pumps and the ditches and the dams, and we can build irrigation infrastructure that works for both the farm and the river. It's really just concrete and dirt and common sense. Let's get it figured out.
It's important to keep this legacy ranch, which has been in our family for 168 years, intact, and the only way to meet regulatory demands coming from society is to become efficient.
Already, we've completely redesigned and installed a new irrigation system on the HART Ranch, which allowed us to remove a major fish barrier, restore the degraded stream channel, and dedicate water in stream when it's needed most. Now with the Cardoza project, we will remove another major 25-acre impoundment, opening up 14 miles of spawning and rearing habitat in Parks Creek, while also enhancing flows downstream for over 5 miles. Both projects will have major impact on salmon recovery in the Mid-Klamath Basin.